Today we're looking at factoring polynomials completely. We are going to factor them. We have all sorts of factoring mixed up. We have greatest common factors. So very first thing we want to look at is we want to factor out any greatest common factor. So let's look at that first. Look at number 1. I want to look at 3 and 48. If I add 4 plus 8, I get 12. 12 is divisible by 3, so I know 48 is also divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a 3 out of my binomial here. I also am looking at the x's. This one has 4 x's. This one has 2 x's, but they both have 2 that they can give me. So I'm going to pull out an x squared. Now, I want to divide by 3x squared. The 3's are going to cancel, and 2 of the x's are going to cancel out, so I'm going to have an x squared left. Now, if I divide 48 by 3, I get 16, and I pulled out my x squared. So this is my the greatest common factor taken out. If it has 3 terms, I can use my shortcut, or I can use if I have a number in the front, I can use the lightning bolt method. If it has 2 terms, I want to check to see, is it the difference of 2 squares? And if I look at this, it is. So I can take the square root of x squared and the square root of 16. So I'm going to make sure I keep my 3x squared. I have my 2 parentheses. The square root of x squared is x and x. The square root of 16 is 4 and 4. I have 1 plus, 1 minus, and this would be a fully factored polynomial here. Okay, number 2. Now I am noticing all of these are even. So I know at least a 2 can be factored out. However, I want to look and see if there's anything bigger. So I'm going to look at the smallest number. I want to look at 20. Will 20 go into 88 or 32? No, it won't. Okay. Then I'm going to go to 2 and 10. Will 10 go into 88 and 32? No. What about 3 doesn't go in, but 4 and 5 do. Does 5 go into 88 and 32? No. 4 does. 4 goes into 88 and 32. So even though 2 goes in, we want to take out the greatest number that will go into all of these numbers here, which is 4. So I'm going to pull a 4 out of all of these. I'm just going to divide each piece by 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5x squared. 88 divided by 4 is 22x. And 32 divided by 4 is 8. Now I want to make sure I have a 4 as part of my answer. So I'm just going to kind of draw an arrow down, but then after that I'm going to ignore it. But I do want it in my answer. So I'm only going to look at what's in this parentheses now. Now I have a 5 here. That is a number that's bigger than 1. So I'm going to multiply 5 and 8 to get 40. And then I want to find 2 numbers that multiply to 40 and add to negative 22. So 1 and 40, 2 and 20. And if I add 20 and 2, I'm getting 22, but I want a negative 22. So since this is positive, I know I either have both positive or both negative. And since I'm adding to a negative 22, I know they both are going to be negative here. So those are going to be my 2 numbers. Once you find your numbers, you can stop. You don't have to keep writing. So I have 5x squared minus 2x minus 20x plus 8. I'm going to put in my lightning bolt. Now my first 2, I'm noticing I have an x in both pieces. I'm going to factor an x out, and I get 5x minus 2. Whatever sign you have, you're going to bring that down. Now I'm looking at 20 and 8. 8 has 1 and 8, 2 and 4 as the factors. Now 8 won't go into 20, but 4 will. So 4 is the biggest number that will go into both. So if I divide negative 20 by negative 4, I get 5x. 8 divided by negative 4 gives me a negative 2. And we know we did it right if these 2 are the same, unless we just copied it down. My first factor is going to be the x minus 4. And the second factor is the 5x minus 2. And that would be a fully factored trinomial. Now let's look at number 3. Very first thing I'm looking for is a greatest common factor, 12 and 27. So I look at the smallest number, 12, and I kind of just write down my factors. 1 and 12, 12 won't go into 27. 2 and 6, 6 won't go into 27. 3 goes in 4 times. Now 4 doesn't, but 3 goes into both of these. So I'm going to factor a 3 out, which just means I'm going to divide it. I get 4x squared minus 9. Now if it has 2 terms, I'm going to see if this is a difference of 2 squares. So if I take the square root of both of those, will I get a nice number out? Make sure you have the 3. And then the square root of 4x squared is 2x and 2x. The square root of 9 is 3 and 3. 1 minus 1 plus, or 1 plus 1 minus will work. And that's it. Okay, number 4, we're factoring. I'm looking at, I've got 8, 24, and 18. I want to find the biggest number that will evenly go into all of those numbers. So I'm going to get my lowest number, 8. I'm going to start with 1 and 8. Does 8 go into 24 and 18? It does go into 24, but not 18. 2 and 4. 4 does not go into 18. 3 doesn't go in. And that's all the numbers that multiply to 4, or to 8. So I do have this 2 though. 2 will evenly go into all of these numbers. So I am going to pull out a 2. I am noticing that all of them have at least an x I can pull out as well. So I'm going to take all of these numbers and divide them by 2x. If I take 8 and divide it by 2x, the 8 divided by 2 gives me 4, and one of the x's cancel with one of these to leave an x squared. So I'm going to have 4x squared. 24 divided by 2 is 12, and I divided out an x. And 18 divided by 2 is a 9. Now, one thing I'm noticing when I'm going to bring the 2x down. I want it to be part of my answer, but I'm just going to ignore it for now. I have 3 terms. If I have 3 terms, I want to, if there's a number here, we multiply 2, 4, and 9 to get 36. Now 36 is a perfect square, so I can try 6 and 6, and a lot of times that will work. See, they add to 12, so I know those are my 2 answers. 4x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 9, and then I do my lightning bolt. A 2x will come out of the first 2. 2x plus 3. Whatever sign you have, you bring it down. And then 6 and 9, both of them can be divided by 3. And I'll have 2x plus 3. Then I write my final factors, 2x plus 3. And I have another 2x plus 3. So this is going to equal 2x times 2x plus 3 squared. So you can write it either way, would be fine. Now my last one is where we do everything. I have equals 0, so my answer is going to look like x equals something. And since this is a cube, there's going to be 3 answers that we should get. We should get 3 equations here. Now first thing I'm looking at, can I pull anything out? Well, they all have a w, so let's factor a w out of everything. I have w squared minus 8w minus 16 if I pull a w out of everything. Now this is going to be my shortcut because there's not a number in the front. I'm going to bring the w down. And then I have w. First we learn to add, then we learn to multiply. We're looking for 2 things that multiply to negative 16. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. And that add to negative 8. Now, if I do a negative 8 and a negative 4, that gives me a negative 8. I'm sorry, this should be a plus 16. I messed up on that. So this should be a plus 16. And a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative 4 and a negative 4 give me a negative 8. So W minus 4 and W minus 4. So I'm going to set this equal to 0. I have 3 things multiplied to equal 0. So I have W equals 0, and that's one of my answers. W minus 4 equals 0, W minus 4 equals 0. Now both of these are going to give me the same answer of W equals 4. So I just need to write it once, but this is called a multiplicity of 4 where it happens twice. We have a multiplicity of 2 where W equals 4 happens twice. So I'm just going to write W equals, and I will put 0, 4 for my answer there.